Kia ora tātou. Welcome to the special Ngāhere Talk series we've called Whakatau. Whakatau means to make a decision, to settle yourself on something. We've all had to navigate this global pandemic and had to make the decision to whakatau ourselves on whether or not we'd get the vaccination for both us and our whānau. For some of us, it's been a hard decision with consequences that are tough to bear. For some, it's been confusing, it's been too rushed, or it's been too scary. Join me as I kōrero with whānau who have made the brave decision to vaccinate themselves and their tamariki, and learn how they were able to whakatau their heads, hearts and puku on this whole COVID vaccination debate. Mauri ora. Kia ora tātou, welcome back to our second episode of Whakatau here on Ngāhere Talk. So really excited about our kōrero today. We have a beautiful couple with us representing their whānau, Kui and Tys. It's lovely to have you both here today. Kia ora kōrua. Why don't we just kick off by introducing yourself?
Yeah, kia ora, tēnā tātou. He uria wau no te tairawhiti, no te ākau o Tokomaru, ko marotiri te maunga, ko mga hauani te awa, ko Ngāti Porou te iwi, ko te whānau arua taupare te hapu, ko te Ataakura Pewhairangi tōku ingoa. Kia ora, my name is te Ataakura, also known as Kui, widely probably known as Kui. I hail from Ngāti Porou on the east coast of the North Island.
Kia ora, Kui.
Kia ora, ko Tyson tōku ingoa, no Papaioea hau. Kia ora everyone, my name's Tyson, everyone knows me as Tys. Born and raised in the Manawatu, yeah.
Awesome, kia ora Tys. It's lovely to meet you. Thank you for having us in our whare, in your whare today. It's nice to be able to just sit down and have a little kōrero about how this whole vaccination situation has rolled out for your whānau, including not just yourselves but also your tamariki. But I think first and foremost, I'd love to know from you guys, how do you within your whānau make the decisions that you need to make about the health and well-being of your whānau?
Yeah, well, I like to use the kōrero mā te hapori te tamaiti e whakatapu. It takes a village to raise our tamariki, and we're pretty big on that kōrero. You know, although we are mama and papa, you know, we've got a whole village, our whole whānau, our friends, you know, behind us, backing us, supporting us. And so when it comes to our whānau, you know, collectively we work together to raise our tamariki. To bring out the best in our tamariki. That was how I was raised, you know, within the community, not just by mum and dad, but, you know, aunties, uncles, cousins, older siblings. And so naturally that has kind of progressed into how I raise our tamariki. Yeah, village.
Yeah, very much the same, I guess, yeah. As Kui said, it's, you know, it takes a hapu to raise a tamaiti, a child. And we kind of both fully embrace that, whether it's seeking guidance from our parents, like she said, our friends. We kind of don't really make those decisions by ourselves. We've got, you know, a hapu behind us that helps us and guides us into that direction. So, you know, we're probably quite lucky to have those people around us at all times, and, you know, we're very grateful for that.
Yeah, yeah. So what's your village, what's your hapu like here in Tamaki?
Yeah, so both our tamariki and, well, you know, they've gone through kohanga. They're currently, you know, in kura kaupapa Māori, and so it's very much so that tuatana hapu-based, whānau-based, you know, raising our tamariki. And so we've got we've naturally had to find our hapori, you know, find our hub, find our community, friends, and, you know, within that community and within our kura community, you know, we have like-minded whānau, you know, our tamariki have so many activities they're involved with, you know, kapahaka and sports, and so, you know, our whānau, our different friend circles are putting our tamariki, you know, in similar activities, you know, whether it be netball or rugby league, and so, you know, wherever we go, there's always friends and whānau there supporting us. It wasn't easy, you know, with our first child it was, you know, difficult trying to find our community because we were both born and raised in Palmerston North, so moving here, we were quite young parents, you know, 21, 22, so finding, you know, those that were having tamariki at the same age. All our mates were not quite ready to have tamariki, so we were kind of the first within our circles to have tamariki, but it wasn't until our tamariki, started there, towards the end of the kohanga going into kura that we really had to build those connections and build those relationships with, our children's friends, parents, so we could, collectively walk this journey together.
How many tamariki do you have?
We've got 3 tamariki. Our oldest Papaioea, who is 7, who is the boss of the whānau.
Second boss.
Me.
Yeah, that's the one.
She's literally a mini me, so some call it Kama. And then we've got our middle boy Te Haiata, who's 5, and our baby Taihana, who's 9.5 months.
Oh, beautiful. So when you think back to what it was like for you growing up in your different whānau, what were the different ways that you experienced aroha from your whānau as a young person growing up?
I guess the 3 things that kind of pop to my head straight away is having, kai, 1, 2, we, having fun with one another, whether that be siblings, friends, and the 3rd, expressing how you feel, telling that person that you actually love them, goes a long way. And like examples for me at my home in Palmerston North when I was a kid, big household, 8 siblings, raised from a single mother, she would work three jobs a day, come home and still have the energy and time to cook us dinner, sit us all down, watch us have kai, make sure that we finished it. We couldn't leave the table without finishing that kai, and that was just one of those old school things, as probably we all know. And then the second one, having 6 brothers and 2 sisters, all in kind of one household. You can manage the carnage, the fighting, the love, all those raw emotions that that we experienced at that time is how we kind of gave each other the love. And then the 3rd one, obviously expressing the love and actually saying it is a big thing. My mum, for example, would every night, without a doubt, I can't even remember a night that she wouldn't say it, and she would say, "I love you, have a good night's sleep, sweet dreams," and a kiss on the forehead. And they kind of set you up for the next morning, So all those little things kind of is the way that my household showed us kids aroha.
And she's still like that now.
It's still
she's
exactly
still
the same.
Every time we see her, I love you. We'll be gone for 5 minutes. You'll come back. I love you.
Gives you a little kiss before you go to bed.
I feel like a little child again, and it just takes me back to all those little memories.
Do you get a little kiss when you go to bed now as well?
Yeah, always, That. And he continues that with our tamariki, it's amazing what you bring from your childhood into and the ways in which you parent your tamariki, and what he said is him to a T as a parent. He's big on talking to our tamariki about emotions and, making sure he's playing with them, having fun, and that's his way of showing, acts of aroha to our tamariki. And I guess for me, my parents were big on, I guess the biggest thing, if I was to think about what acts of aroha look like within our whare, for my mum and dad, it was really, really important for us to know who we are, where we come from. And they're still very much so like that today. And so what acts of aroha look like for me growing up was making sure we always knew where we were from, where if I think about where my whenua, my placenta is buried, it's in Tokomaru Bay. And not only, do I say where my mountain is, what my mountain is, what my river is, I've literally, stood on my maunga, I've swam in my, in my awa, and that is something that I don't take for granted, and something that I'm really, really grateful to have, and that was one thing that I remember growing up. We were always there every holiday, every weekend. My parents were free, they would take us home, and so we continued that with our tamariki. Probably not as exciting for Tyson coming back to Tokomaru Bay, but our tamariki, their whenua also buried there on the same papakainga where me and my siblings are. Our placenta are buried, so that was big for us, and that's one way we can show our tamariki acts of aroha.
I'm probably the one that's most excited to go back there.
True, yeah. got to drag him back.
Yeah.
Oh, this sounds really beautiful, and I think you guys are both really lucky to have those beautiful memories and experiences, and to be able to pass that on to your tamariki, and for them to have confidence from that aroha that they get. And so I guess like now moving into the whole COVID situation that all of us have been through at the moment, what has it been like for your whānau navigating through this whole pandemic?
Yeah, I guess we speak from a place of privilege, because it's been quite an amazing experience for us as a whānau. Both my parents are educators, so back when the first lockdown hit, my mum was quite active in voicing what it was that she saw was going to happen, and so she suggested to us that we get out of Tāmaki being the hotspot. We think about maybe moving down to Palmerston for the time being. Lockdown hadn't quite happened yet, but she was at the time, I remember saying, come down, we'll have that intergenerational living, which is, really, really exciting. I mean, me as a mama, I haven't experienced that. I didn't have the privilege of growing up with my grandparents around, and so for us as parents to be able to give that to our tamariki for, it was almost 2.5-3 months. It was just amazing.
Was that in that first lockdown?
Yeah.
So you just picked up and went down there?
Packed up and left.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was us, our 2 tamariki at the time, and my brother who lives with us, and so to have that amount of adults in the one household was amazing. Help with the kids, help raise
and amazing for our kids as well. Like, it wasn't just us two kind of playing with them, and by that stage, probably a month, they probably would have got sick of us and kind of just flicked us off. And but with having other people in the house and other people to bounce off, and just kind of having different kind of loves from different angles, it was probably a blessing for them and a blessing for us at the same time.
Yeah. And so that was what, 2020, the first little bit of lockdown, eh? And then what was the rest after that? Because you obviously came back. Did you go back down again, or?
We didn't, we just missed the lockdown. So, living here in Tāmaki, we've had a couple of lockdowns. The one just recently at the end of 2021, we welcomed our third baby into te ao marama. So that was really, really different. I guess we probably saw challenges there because we didn't have the privilege of having mum and dad here with us. We didn't have our,
visitors.
Visitors. And we've had 2 home births for our 2 oldest, and for the third having to go into hospital, at the time not knowing if, Tyson could come into the hospital. So, in terms of, that was probably challenging and a little bit different to what we were used to as a whānau. But grateful that we had, uncle who watched the older 2 kids while we went off to the hospital, deliver Pepe, and then come back home. Yeah.
So were we in lockdown? We would have been in lockdown, eh?
Yeah,
9
so I
months
think
ago.
August we went into lockdown. He was born in September.
Oh, wow.
And I actually loved it, to be honest. I loved it. Like, my work was kind of shut off at that stage, so I got to spend time with Taihana, with one of the kids that were just recently born, and I didn't really get that experience. I didn't get that time with the other 2, so I was quite happy and stoked to stay home with Taihana, the youngest one, and have that fun, see him crawl around, see him get hurt, and all those little things that I missed on the first lot.
Oh, I bet he's a little daddy's boy now.
Oh no, he's still close to his mum, so I'll give him another 2 months and then he'll start calling
Not
back
long.
to me. Yeah.
Fun dad.
They'll eventually come to me.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. And so as a whānau, you've both decided to get vaccinated along with 2 of your tamariki?
We have, So the vaccination kōrero within our household has been quite normalised. It's with our parents, the nature of our mahi, being in the military, working in the education sector. It was, either get vaccinated or lose your mahi. So we had to really have those wānanga to see what the pathway was for our tamariki.
Well, for us, it was our decision to vaccinate. But for our tamariki, it a bit different.
Yeah.
I guess it was, we had, because ka kōrero Māori, māua kia rātou, so we only speak Māori to our kids, and we were speaking English when we were talking to one another, and I guess both our kids picked it up that we were getting vaccinated, and they were kind of asking like, what about me? Am I getting vaccinated? And so they kind of made their own little choice in their own little heads that they wanted to get vaccinated. And
yeah, which was interesting for us. Yeah, I mean the vaccination kōrero was quite normalised within our household. We had quite lengthy wānanga around what we wanted to do, and and all the decisions we make as a whānau are for the greater good. It's about collectively making decisions that impact, I guess, our village, our hapori, and so it was, quite simple for Tyson and I to get vaccinated. But for our girl, it was like a countdown. I remember she's like, can I get vaccinated today? Is it today? Is it today?
Really?
So she had to wait until they opened up the bracket to get her vaccination. And so, yeah, she was really, really, into it. And I guess, as parents, we had normalised that kōrero. We made sure that we had informed kōrero around the, why it is that we're vaccinating our tamariki, lengthy wānanga by people who have, done the rangahau, done the research. We went to whānau, to friends, to kaumātua, to pakeke that we know and trust, and that we know and trust have been doing this, mahi or rangahau research for a number of years. So it wasn't just let's just jump on the bandwagon and get this done. It was, based on, it was evidence-based. It was, collectively talking to our parents, our whānau, about, that decision and how it, will have a ripple effect on our whakapapa, really, yeah.
Yeah. So of all those wānanga that you had, were there any bits of information or things that really stood out to you that really helped you make that call or made you feel comfortable about that decision?
Yeah, well, for me, my dad's 73 this year, and so, thinking about, how vulnerable they would have been, had we not been vaccinated, had we brought COVID back into the home, and how difficult it would have been, for us as parents not being vaccinated and being around our pakeke. We go home to Tokomaru Bay often, and one of the decisions our hapu, our iwi made was that, whānau returning back home had to be vaccinated, and so our decision was, based around that and the importance of staying connected to home, making sure that, we're keeping our pakeke, our kaumātua safe, and as well as our tamariki. So, for us it was all about protecting our whānau, protecting our whakapapa, and taking that kōrero from our kaumātua and our pakeke.
And what about you, Tys? I know that you were mandated to take the vaccination. How was that for you?
For me, I guess it goes back to the same kōrero. I wasn't kind of forced to take the vax, but just having all those conversations from all types of people, all different types of people, kind of eased me into getting vaccinated, and it made it real easy. So for me, it was just kind of like, it took about a month for me to get vaccinated, and the mandatory for me was to be vaccinated within the 3 months. So we had a bit of time, and I took that time very wisely and just kind of talked to everyone and made sure it was the right decision for me at the time. And like we said, it's protecting our elders, all our parents and all that kind of thing. And so I'm all for that.
Yeah, beautiful. And so what kind of questions or maybe fears did you have when it came to then vaccinating your tamariki?
I mean, we've vaccinated our tamariki from the get-go, and so, for us, we didn't think that this was any different. from the previous vaccinations. I mean, yearly we're getting this flu jab, and, you know, it's protected us as a whānau, as parents, and so, you know, for this type of vaccination, it was almost like, well, we've always done it, you know, what's the difference, you know, with this one, if it's, you know, coming from the people we know and trust, saying that it's going to protect you, it's going to keep your whānau and your tamariki safe. I mean, we're all for it. And we were lucky enough that Papa was one of the first to get vaccinated. Not that we wanted anything to happen to him, but, you know, he was part of that first rollout of vaccination, where there wasn't so much divide within our community. And so that decision as a whānau to support Papa to get vaccinated didn't weigh too heavy on us, because there wasn't such a big hype over vax versus non-vax on Facebook and on social media. So at that time, it was, quite relaxed, you know, it wasn't so, didn't feel so pressured, and, you know, he was okay and well, and same as my dad, I think he was part of that first, you know, vaccination rollout, and so, you know, if koro's doing it, if Papa's doing it, then, you know, we're just naturally following.
Yeah, and it was a bit weird too, because both our kids hate needles. They absolutely hate going to the doctors. You know, and then both of our kids... They
do like the lollipop,
They like the lollipops. But it was just weird that both of them just kind of were eager to go and get it.
Yeah, which,
you know,
makes us proud, you know, because we've done our job as parents to show our tamariki that by doing this, you know, although it might be a little bit mamai with this big needle that's going in my arm, it's going to keep me safe. It's going to make sure that I can see my grandparents and my papaioea, my whānau. And so as parents, we were like, yes, we're all for it. Let's go.
Oh, ka pai. I think what I'm really getting from you guys is how much you do trust the health system in Aotearoa, and potentially that comes from your parents as well, and being academic. Like what encouragement could you give to people that haven't had those positive experiences with the health system, or potentially see it as a threat and not trustworthy?
Well, he mea nui te tai awe. Your environment is key. So, you know, who you surround yourself with, the type of kōrero or conversations or wānanga that you surround yourself, you naturally become part of that wānanga. And so, you know, I mean, for me, I won't speak on your behalf, but for me, you know, what I can encourage other whānau to do is to reach out to their whānau, to people that they know and trust, to support them in their decisions, to, you know, because I know that it can be challenging, it's nerve-wracking, it's unknown territory, but for us it was safe, it was unforced, because we had pakeke, we had parents, we had kaumātua, we had our tamariki, all there within the same wānanga space, talking about this, you know, this vaccination that's, you know, going to protect us and keep us safe. So that's one thing that I know as parents we did, was not make decisions just within our own little bubble, that we reached out to others to help us make informed decisions for our whānau.
Yeah, I guess turn off your social media for a little bit, you know, for 6 months, and have those hard kōrero with people that have had the vaccination, you know, and have deep conversation, and really kind of get the guts of it, and not kind of be influenced from other imaginations. You know, have conversations with pure people, face to face, kānui te kānui.
Yeah. And could you give any advice on where they could find some of these conversations? I know you've said whānau, and that for some people that might not be the right place to go as well, because that might be the environment where they're only getting one narrative. Yeah, where else could they go and kōrero and find some answers?
Another place is, you know, where our kura is quite active, you know, so finding it might be a kohanga or you know, early childhood based community. It could be a kura based community. I mean, it could be people that have been, you know, helping you, you know, your whole life. You know, it might look like your GP. It might look like, you know, there's so many different places and spaces that we can go to access the right information, because sometimes it takes, you know, finding the right community to unpack, you know, all of those, I guess, uncertainties that you have. And so, I mean, we were lucky enough to find it within our own whānau, but, you know, my advice is to reach out to different communities. And, you know, for some, it might be looking outside of your whānau. You know, lucky enough with this kaupapa, we were all on the same page as a whānau, but it's not always like that. You know, we know the dynamics of whānau, and, you know, we're not always on the same page, but, you know, it might be friends, it might be a colleague, it might be a local kaumātua. I mean, there's so many different places that you can go to access, you know, the information, I guess, that you're looking for.
And most of those places is like, it's like a party in some of those spots, you know, like, especially our kids' kura, it's, you drive in and it's, you just see a lot of people having fun, you see the teachers having fun. You know, they're giving out prizes, you know, there's kai, there's a movie theatre, you know, and that's just in Hoani Waititi, and I guess in all the other places they've got singers and actors, you know, all those kind of things that, you know, whether you're Māori or not, you're welcome in any kind of community. And I think that's the more important thing is, you know, you go anywhere you like, you're going to be welcomed in, no matter where you come from.
Yeah, and we always felt safe, and more importantly, our tamariki felt safe. And if you, you know, if you get that sense of safety within that community or within that space that you take your, not only yourself but your whānau into, you know, that's the feeling that you get, that hopefully that is, you know, gives you a sense of, yeah, I'm making the right decision.
Beautiful. Well, I honestly think that people are going to get really encouraged by listening to your kōrero, and hopefully inspired as well by the way that you show aroha to each other and to your tamariki. I think I've loved listening to how you kōrero with them and allow them to be part of the wānanga from such a young age, to listen to all the different perspectives and to make their own decisions. I think that's probably what I love the most about hearing from you guys. So tēnei te mihi nui kia korua, mō tēnei kōrero, for opening up your whare to us as well, and being so generous with your what's coming out of your heart for this kaupapa. So,
Our pleasure.
kia ora kōrua.
Thank you, tēnā.